The Chicago Bears clearly want to add a pass rusher. My name is Harrison Graham. These two guys, with their actions, have shown us that they want to add to this defensive line. So I'm going to get you caught up on the latest, plus explore some of the potential options that are available via free agency and a potential trade market. But before we jump into that, can we get to 97,000 subscribers before the Chiefs preseason game? Don't think we're going to get 600 plus by the Saturday game against Cincinnati, but I think 97K by next Thursday is on the table. So I'll tell you this, if the Bears make a big roster move, we're going to go live here on the channel. So subscribe today. It's 100% free of charge, nothing costing you to hit that subscribe button. All right, let's set the table with this. The Bears were clearly in on Matt Judon, not only per reporters, but per a former NFL GM that was in the building at Hallis Hall when this all was going down. We'll get to Scott Pioli in a minute, but the report from Jordan Schultz is that it came down to the Falcons and the Bears for Matt Judon. Ultimately, the Patriots shipped him to Atlanta for a 2025 third-round pick, as he is now an Atlanta Falcon. And you know, there was a lot of debate. Would you have offered a third? Would you not? There were some reports. There was one report out of Boston that Ryan Poles did offer a third. Now, I don't want to dismiss the report, but it's not like Schefter said that or one of these bigger reporters. Doesn't mean it's not true, but I do just want to add the full context there. But there's at least been some chatter that the Bears offered a third. And I will say this. If they offered a third and chose Atlanta, that means the Patriots think the Bears are going to be better than the Falcons, right? And that at least plays part of a role in that decision. Now, I'm not completely convinced Ryan Poles offered a third for Matt Judon. He wants to get fair value, especially knowing he likes to be involved at the trade deadline. He might have just, offered a fourth or 2-day 3 picks and if take it or leave it type thing. But at minimum, the Bears were interested. At minimum, there was some back and forth here. Not, all the reporters are saying that the Bears were in the mix. So ultimately, he became a Falcon. But I just think it's important to outline that the Bears at least appear to be in pursuit of a pass rusher. Would you have traded a third for Matt Judon, third-round pick? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I can see it both ways. I really can. I think the third, that was kind of the sweet spot for a potential trade, but curious to see what side of the fence you would have felt on. So Y for yes or N for no. Again, I do think that third-round pick is right on the edge because if you go a 2 or certainly a 1, which it would never have been a first, it's an overpay for a 32-year-old pass rusher on an expiring contract who you're also going to have to pay. Third is still a bit risky. It's a day 2 pick. You're still going to have to pay him a contract in all likelihood unless you just want to keep him as a rental. But I think with him holding out in New England, you were at least going to have to give him a pay raise this year at minimum. So it's not just that you're giving up the pick. It's the money that you're going to have to invest as well. You look at Keenan Allen, for example. Different position, but a premier one on offense. It was a fourth to get him in here, and he's willing to play on his current contract. So A, you only had to give up a fourth, which helps your rookie quarterback more directly. And B, it's not like he's holding out and forcing the Bears to give him a contract. So that's a little bit safer for Chicago than a third and a potential pay raise at minimum, if not an extension. And I think those are some reasons for hesitation. A, he missed most of last year with an injury. B, he's 32 years old, which for trenches players, they tend to fall off at some point. 3, last year of a contract, so you're likely going to pay him. And that's been pretty voiced from him in his camp. He wants a new deal. Now, I don't know if it's full Haason Reddick, where it's like he's going to refuse to play without one, but he clearly wants a new deal. And so to recap it all, I think a third, I would have been okay with it, but that's the most I would have done. I would not have done a 2 unless you would have gotten a pick back, maybe like a 2 for Judon and a 3, get a 3 back. But I just don't think at this point in time I would have done more than a third. Now, maybe at the deadline if Judon's having a huge year and if the Bears are, looking like a contender and they feel like they're a piece away from making a run, then yeah, maybe you overpay at that point. But in August, I think a third was the sweet spot. And so it's kind of, you could go either way, so I can't really blame the Bears. Now, this is where it gets interesting, though, and where I could buy that the Bears offered a third. Scott Pioli, who was at Bears practice yesterday and today, and on Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, said that this came down to the contract, not the trade. Pioli went on NFL Live and essentially said that the Bears, when discussing with Judon's agent, because they had direct contact, the Patriots allowed Judon to discuss potential contracts with trade suitors, that they didn't offer enough. They didn't offer him as much as he wanted. So it may have come down to a situation where the Patriots respect Judon enough and say, hey, we got similar trade from two teams. You negotiate with those two teams, and whichever deal you like better, we'll trade you to that team. And I could buy that because, the outlook of the Falcons and Bears could be similar in terms of where they'll be picking. So maybe the Falcons just offered more. Now, as of filming this on Thursday, he has not signed an extension with Atlanta. But I could buy that. I could buy Poles being like, hey, we'll send you a third, but we're only going to give you, $18-20 million per year on a 1 or 2 year extension. And maybe Judon was like, no, I want more. So I'm just throwing out numbers. I'm not sure, but that's what Pioli said, and he was in the Bears building when this trade went down. So I take that pretty seriously at the end of the day. All right, coming up next, more evidence that Chicago wants a pass rusher. Even more than they were in the mix for Judon. I think it's pretty clear at this point what they want. But before we get there, I do got to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor today. That is Rocket Money. And listen, if you're like me and, you got some college debt, you've got a mortgage to pay, you got a child that you're raising and a lot of expenses there, bills, you got to stay on top of your money, man. You got to monitor your finances. And the Rocket Money app helps you do that better than any banking app I've ever had. And what's cool with Rocket Money is you sync up your bank account with it and, you're able to check everything. Check how many subscriptions you have at once, how much you're paying per month on those. And if you want to cancel those, they'll help you do that. You can set budgets where they'll send you alerts all the time to see if you're over or under budget for that specific month. You can negotiate to lower certain bills that you have, like your energy bill, cell phone provider, etc. They will show you other companies for those providers that could lower your monthly bill. It's awesome. Rocket Money is going to help you save money, and just in general too, there's just a lot of cool stuff. You can check your credit score every single day. You can kind of see what areas in life you're spending more on. Are you eating out too much? Are you spending too much at the grocery store, gas, etc.? And you can kind of figure out where you can scale back. Rocket Money has saved customers over $500 million for those who use the app to the fullest potential. Think about that. And on average, you could save up to $700 plus if you maximize the usage of their app. So download, or $700 per year, excuse me. RocketMoney.com/Bears now. Download the app today. Trust me, Rocket Money is awesome. Think what you could do with an extra $700 this year. Go on a vacation. You can go on several nice meals. You could start a college fund. Rocket Money is going to help you save money. Did Matt Eberflus slip up? There was a lot of debate about this on social media a few days ago. About Flus and did he reveal what the Bears were trying to do. He was on CBS Sports, and they asked him about Montez Sweat, and he kind of just went on a tangent after the initial question. He says, he demands attention, talking about Sweat. He frees up the other rushers. When you can have two, it's even better. And then as he started to stutter, he said, and that's what we're searching to do here coming forward. Now, Bears Twitter was kind of split on this. This was on August 13th before the Judon thing went down, before it was reported the Bears were in. Kind of split on Twitter like, hey, he's just talking about current guys they have. They're trying to find a second guy internally. And then the other half of Twitter was like, are the Bears going to trade for Matt Judon? Are they trying to go get someone? Well, the next day Judon got traded and the Bears were in the mix. So kind of a couple things stood out there. Number one, if you go watch the clip, Flus starts stuttering when he mentions the when you have two thing. That's pretty significant. That's what we're searching to do. He was stuttering there. Like, searching to me is kind of like they're looking for an answer. Now, maybe that could include internally, but I think with the Judon thing coming out that the Bears were in there until the end, that's kind of confirmation to me that the Bears are at least looking around. They're poking around. They're gauging the market, seeing what's out there. Now, that doesn't mean they're being reckless. If they were reckless, they would have gotten Matt Judon. Not saying that getting him would have for sure been reckless, but if they wanted to, they could have, is my point. They could have given a second-round pick, etc. But the Bears are clearly trying to get someone in here. Now, another free agent went off the market. Carl Lawson signed with the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday morning. He's got shorter arms, so probably wasn't a great fit. We know Flus, Poles, they value these bigger, longer edge rushers, like Austin Booker, frankly. Hopefully he develops into being a big-time player. So Lawson is out, but there's still some guys out there, and we're going to get to those players here in just a second. But I want to hear from you. Name a pass rusher the Bears should sign or trade for. Either way is fine. Sign or trade for. Drop a name down in the comments below. So let's get to some potential targets. Obviously, Yannick Ngakoue is still out there. He's pretty clearly the top free agent left as a pass rusher. Didn't have a great year last year with the Bears, but again, 2 of his 4 sacks were once Montez Sweat got traded. I thought he played a little better once Sweat got here. So I'm not going to sit here and dismiss the possibility of Ngakoue. I will say this, and maybe this is a reach, but I think Austin Booker is actually better already. So I think Ngakoue is the best free agent, but I don't think you can view this like we did last year when they signed him. Like, oh, this is a plug-and-play starter at worst. He's going to get you 8+ sacks, as that's what he's been every year of his career. I think he's a rotation piece, which is fine. I think he's probably better than Dominique Robinson, but I don't think you can have crazy high expectations for Yannick Ngakoue if that's the direction they go in. Let's get to the interesting names. Haason Reddick. Obviously, we've talked about Haason Reddick at times throughout this offseason. We talked about him earlier this week when he requested a trade from the New York Jets, and that's kind of where things sit. Requested a trade because he still wants a new deal, which is why Philly traded him in the first place. Jets came out and said they're not going to trade him. We've heard nothing since Monday from either party. So I don't know what's going on there. I think the Jets look foolish in this situation because you traded for a player that wanted more money. The Eagles didn't give it to him, so they traded him. You knew that, and you still haven't paid up. Kind of silly to me. I don't know how much he wants. I don't know what a trade would cost. They gave up a conditional third for him. I can't imagine it would be more than a third given that fact. I do wonder, with how productive he's been, despite that, do the Bears view him as a 4-3 fit? Because he's essentially been a 3-4 edge his entire career. He's like 6'1.5", 6'2", 240, 245. He's a smaller edge rusher in a 4-3 scheme. Now, I think if you know how to rush, you know how to rush. Your defense, you should be adaptable to making a player like that work. But, you know, these teams have preferences, and maybe the Bears don't view him as an ideal fit. All right, number 3, and this one's a defensive tackle, Jonathan Allen, who was obviously rumored to be a trade candidate at the trade deadline last year. The Commanders opted to trade their edges instead. Of course, Montez Sweat came to the Bears. Chase Young went to the 49ers, who's now in New Orleans. Allen, who is 30 now. Commanders are kind of a young rebuilding team. He would certainly provide help at a different spot on the interior at 3-tech, which Matt Eberflus, to this day, one of his first remarks at his opening press conference was that the 3-tech position is the engine to this defense. And they have not had a premier player there in 2.5 years since he took the job. They tried to sign Larry Ogunjobi that first year. It fell through. They're hoping Gervon Dexter's that guy, but I think that's still a bit of an unknown. Jonathan Allen is a productive, proven player. Oh, and by the way, he played next to Montez Sweat for many years in Washington. So that would be a pretty seamless fit. The sacks have dipped a little bit in each of the last couple of years, but he's still been productive. He's still gotten a lot of pressure. Like, I think if you put him at 3-tech and then made Dexter kind of a versatile backup that could play some 3-tech, played some edge, certainly play more than he did last year, I think that raises the floor of your room pretty significantly. It really, really does. Where him and DeMarcus Walker and Booker can kind of do a little bit of everything as backups, rotation guys. And let's be real, the Bears are excited about Dexter. I am too. But him and Pickens are still unknowns. Like, Dexter's had a nice camp, but we haven't seen him play in an NFL game this year. He flashed last year at times. Pickens flashed a couple of times as a rookie. They're unknowns. Jonathan Allen's not an unknown. Is he a superstar at this point in his career? No, but he's a very good player. And I think if you put him in the middle of this defense, if the price is right, I certainly would be open to that. And then kind of, I think, a long shot at this point, but a name worth mentioning because he did request a trade earlier this offseason. That is Trey Hendrickson. But that is the question, who they just practiced against, by the way, Hendrickson and the Bengals. Is he available or not? Like, is he truly gettable? Because he did request a trade before the draft. He wants a new deal. He's 29 years old. He wants that extension before hitting 30 because he knows what the perception is. Once pass rushers hit 30, that value drops. But if the Bengals haven't traded him by now and he's not holding out at practice, are they going to trade him 2 weeks before the regular season? They're trying to win. They're trying to contend. This feels more like a trade deadline type of deal if Cincinnati's struggling for any reason. I will say this. If you could somehow get Trey Hendrickson, whether it's now or later, the guy's a stud. 13-plus sacks in 3 of the last 4 years. I mean, it's not like it's 10-plus, 13-plus. I mean, he's getting home almost every single game. You put him opposite of Montez Sweat, which, by the way, both players are complete guys. They play the run and the pass. I mean, is there a better edge duo in football? I don't think so. I think that would be the best in the league at that point. And then that really, you're going to find out real quick if Dexter's a player or not on the interior because he's going to get a lot of one-on-one looks. So, I think that one feels more like a deadline possibility, but certainly a player I'd be very interested in. And at the end of the day, what's your answer to this question? Do you trust Ryan Poles? Type T for trust or D for don't. I think he should have earned our trust by now. That doesn't mean he's perfect. That doesn't mean he's not going to make mistakes in the future. All GMs do. But I think he's very logical in his thinking. I think he's very calculated. He is very specific, and when he makes a move, he's a calculated, aggressive trader. Like, he makes a lot of moves, but he typically does not overpay on these moves. So we'll see if he has another trick up his sleeve. But, again, I think it's pretty damn clear that the Bears are interested in adding a pass rusher. All right, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears Now. Hit that subscribe button if you want more coverage. And, again, if the Bears make a big splash, we will go live. So hit those notifications as well. See you guys soon.